This is Gemara Megillah Daf Vav. The learning for this month, the month of Tevis, has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Daf, the Zecher Nishmas, his father, Vayrlei ben Yaakov Zatzal, whose birthday was on Rosh Chodesh Tevis. The Neshama should have an incredible aliyah due to all the incredible limud HaTorah generated through the Daf. Vayrlei should be oiled to higher and higher place in Gan Eden Shal Ma'ila. As well as the learning should be Choshen of Yisrael Chaim the Virgin Murmur, it's good to Shanetz Rashan Makal Baruch Chaim Zavshinta as to get was Zavshinta Shalom Levi Zava. As well as the Choshen for Shleimo Shmuel Yosef and Yeved Many Vega Chaim Shalom Simri Zosar can eat the vaccines. They say yourself Mendel. Ali had the party to Shalom Shalom as now we shall figure Shechan Shmol Tin Din Khan Rizim Ghayb as Mina Adinina as saying when doing figure favor and Michal Sir and tell over Rivka was a Shava Naftali's people Michal Esther, as well as Moshe Aryeh ben Batsheva. B'tzai Yishar Chayli Yisrael, we're holding in the bottom of Hey Amid Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Middle of a discussion, when do we read the Megillah in a walled city, and what do we do if it's an unknown city, if we're not sure if it's a walled city? So yesterday we had one such place, today we're going to have multiple different geographic locations. Says the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom of Hey Amid Beis, Ravasi Kari Megillah B'Hutzal Bar Beisar B'Chamisar. Ravasi used to read the Megillah in a place called Hutzal, on both the 14th and the 15th. Why? Masafkele, he was unsure. He didn't know. Did it have a wall? You don't know. When in doubt, you're machmir. So you read it on the 15th like a walled city, and the 14th like a non-walled city. You get the army there. Those who learned the aforementioned story, Ravasi, Hayuhutzal, the beast Binyamin, Mukavas Chames Yeshua Benoni, that this place had a wall from the time of Yeshua ben Nun. So now we're going to go back. We yesterday quoted a pasuk in Yeshua, different names, Rekes, Chamas, etc. Now we're going to retranslate where exactly are these different geographical places. So Amar Rav Yechran, Kavina and Talia, when I was a young man, as Rashi says, when I was a Nar, Amina Milsai said something, that I asked the elders at the time, as we turn over to Vav and Aleph, Kavos. It says Rav Yechon, I found that I was correct. What is this statement? 3 places, says Rav Yechon. Number 1, in the top of and Aleph, Hamas Zutveria. Hamas. Why was it called Hamas? Al Shem Chame Tveria, because the hot springs of Tveria. So Hamas from the word Cham to hot. Rekes, says Rav Yechon, Zutzi Pairi. Rekes B'Shem Demedaz Lake Yerakasa Dinara, because it's elevated high like the bank of the river. And number 3, Kineres Uginaisar. Place the Kineres is the Ginaisar. Kineres, the Matiki Peri Kikala de Kaniri. The fruit is as sweet, like the sound of the harp. So if Yechanan teaches us 3 places, Chamas is Tveria, Rekes is Sipairi, and Kineres is Ginaiser. Amar Rava, 6 lines down, says Rava, Mikal Amanda, Amar Rekes Lav Tveri. You just told me that Rekes is Sipairi. Says Rava, I'm going to prove you 3 times over that everyone agrees that Rekes is really Tveria, and not like you, Rav Yechanan, said that it is Tzipairi. How do I know? When someone was nifter over here in Bavel, Hasam Safdale, when they would give a hesped over there in Tveria, what would they say? Hachi Gadol hu b'shishech, someone was great in Bavel, Visham loy berekes, and he has a name all the way here in Rekes. What's here? Here's where they were in Tveria. So the eulogizers in Tveria refer to at Tveria as Rekes. Proof number 1. Furthermore, says Rava, when the Aron of the dead went to Tveria, further, those who used to give that spadim, they would say, the lovers of Klal Yisrael, Yoshvei Rekes, those who are living in Rekes. Rekes, again, where they were, referring to Tveria. Go out and accept. Excuse me. Those who were killed in the deep. So Rava asked that we see twofold over that Rekes is not Sipari like you, Rav Yochanan, suggested. Rather, Rekes is indeed Tveria. And number 3 says the Gemara, Kinach Nafshei Rav Ziru, and Rav Ziru is Nifter. Pasach Aleh Usaftana, there was a eulogizer that was said, Erechinar Hara, Erechinar, excuse me, referred to Bavel, conceived, but Yalda Eretzvi, and gave birth to in Eretz Yisrael, kids lo shashuela and raised their delights. Oh, lo, woe is to her now. Amra rekes ki avda kli chamdusel, because rekes has lost the precious instrument. So again, what do we see here? Time number 3 over, that rekes is referring to Tiveria. So Rav Yochanan suggested rekes is Sipairi. Asked Rava, no. We see from all different eulogizers that clearly rekes is not the Sipairi, but rather rekes is Tiveria. Ella Amar Rava, Rabba on the first white line, Chamas zu chame grar. So now he's a new pshat in these 3 places. Chamas refers to a place called Chamegrar. Rekes zu Tiveria, like Rav suggested, and Kinara zu Kanaisar. Well, Hamanekesh my Rekes. Why was Tiveria called Rekes? Afilu Reikanim Shabam Le Mitzvahs Kirimain. Everyone in Rekes, Tiveria, even the lowest ones, the empty ones, the Rekes, they were filled up with mitzvahs. Rav Yirmiyah Amar says, Rav Yirmiyah Rekes Shema. Really, its name was Rekes. Hamanekesh Shema Tiveria. Why was it called Tiveria? Sheishavas v'tibura shel Eretz Yisrael, because it's sitting in the center of Eretz Yisrael. Rava Amar, Rava says no. Rekes Shema really was Rekes. Lamanikesh Shema Tiveria. Different reason. Shetaiva Reisia has fine appearance. So we have multiple opinions saying that Rekes is indeed Tiveria, and it was referred to as such because either it's in the center, the Tibura of the world, or because it was Taiva Reisia, had a beautiful appearance. But that is the opinion of Rav Yochanan, that Rekes is indeed Tiveria. But now we go back. What did Rav Yochanan say on the top? Rav Yochanan said that Rekes was Sipairi. Says the Gemara, Amar Zeira, says Zeira, Kitara in Zu Sipairi. Now that we prove that Rekes is not Sipairi, Rekes is Tiveria. So what is Sipairi? Kitara in Vlamanekro Shemait Sipairi, Shishavas Beresh Harkit Sipar, because it sits at the top of the mountain like a bird. The Kitra Tipairi, asked the Gemara, is really Kitra in this place called Tipairi? About Kitra Mechalko Shal Zvulun Havai. Now we're going to have a bit of a long question on Zeira. Zeira said that Kitrain is Sipairi. Ask the Gemara 1 second. We're about to prove that Kitrain is in the portion of Zevulun, and this is wonderful siyata d'shmaya, as all these psukim they're about to quote, many of them are from this week's Parshas Vayechi. Tersiv, as the pasuk says, Zvulun la'ayir says Yesh v'Kitra, not this pasuk, this is a Navi. Zvulun did not drive out the inhabitants of Kitrain, v'as Yesh v'Nahalul, nor those who lived in Nahalul. Uzvulun mitrayim al midaisav, and Zvulun was not happy. He was not happy with the portion that he received from Hashem. Who Shenamar, as the pasuk says, Zvulun am charev nafshay lamos. Zvulun was a people which shamed its soul to death. So now the Gemara is going to explain exactly what happened over here. What's Zvulun complaining about? Why is it upset? And after we explain that, we're going to come full circle, and eventually we're going to prove that this place called Sipairi can't be that it is Kitrain like you just suggested is going to be the bigger question. Says the Gemara, Maitam, what's the reason Zevulun is not happy? Because Naphtali, what did he get? He got places of fields on high. Amar Zevulun ne'akadosh baruch hu Rabbeinu shalaylam lachai nasati them sadas ukramim. You give him fields and vineyards. Linasati harmuk vayis. What do I get? Just mountains and hills. Lachai nasati them arata is my brothers get lands. And I just get lakes and rivers. Amar Allah, he says Hashem, everyone's going to need you, Zvulun. Don't complain. Because in your rivers, you know what's going to be there. The chilazain, the famous shell, the dye that makes a tzitzis, is going to come from your portion, Zvulun. Tani Rav Yosef Svune zechilazain. That's what it refers to. The chilazin, that's going to be the portion of Zvulun. Tmune zu, Terry is a type of tuna. Chol says chuchas lavana, white glass. So Hashem says to Zvulun, calm down. Don't complain. You're saying they get fields and vineyards and you just got rivers, but your rivers, everyone's going to need. Amr lafana b'rebani shalala mima dieni. So then Zvulun says, 1 second. If anyone can just walk in and steal my stuff, anyone can steal this white glass, this tuna, or this chilaz, then how am I going to know? Amar Lai, Hashem responds, Sham yizbechu zivchei tzedek, simen zeh yelacha, you can have a simen, a sign. If someone takes from your portion, Zvulun, without paying you, the business will not prosper at all. So Hashem reassures and promises Zvulun he has nothing to worry about at all. Now, says the Gemara, now we get back to our bigger question, because we just suggested a moment ago that Kitron is Sipari. Ask the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that Kitron is Sipari, why would Zvulun complain about a place called Kitron? Sipari is an extremely good piece of land. Whoa, is Zvulun's whole complaint I don't have any good land? My brother's got all the good land, but if indeed Kidron is Sibairi, then Zvulun got an excellent piece of land. Perhaps you're going to suggest, you know what Zvulun was upset about? That this place called Kitron Sibairi was not flowing with milk and honey. Says the Gemara, it's not true. I personally saw, says Reish Lakish, the flowing milk and honey of Sibari. It was an incredible amount. But so maybe you'll suggest, you know what the problem with Kitron was? It wasn't as much milk and honey as it's like its brothering lands. I saw all the milk and honey of all Eretz. And it was a distance of maybe Kuvi till Talbakni, which is how far? As in Tartin Parsa, Orca, 22 parsas long, put the Yeshita Parsa and 6 parsas wide. So if Kitron had 16 of its own mill and the entire Zavas Chavod Dvash was 22 mil, obviously Kitron was an incredible place. So ask the Gemara, excuse me, why is Zvulun complaining? If indeed Kitron is Sipairi, Kitron is in Zvulun's lot, Sipairi is an incredible piece of land, why would Zvulun complain? Afilu hachi, says the Gemara, you know why? Sadu sukram madifale. Even though you're right, they had a good piece of land and it was flowing with milk and honey, they would have preferred to have Sadu sukramim, field and vineyards, they canami, and the proof is that they were upset that Naphtali had his lands on incredible fields. And that is what Zvulun complained about, and that is proving the point that Zvulun wanted these fields with fields and vineyards. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Avua v'ikaron te'akar zuki sari. And when the pasuk says ikaron te'akar, that Ekron is going to be uprooted, that refers to a place called Caesarea, Bas Edom sheyosheves bein ha'choylais, between the sands, v'yaisa yesei tekua liYisrael. And this land was always a place that everyone wanted to take away from Klal Yisrael. In the days of the Greeks, and when the Chashmonayim were victorious, they called this place Achidas Migdal. And now, in classical Haggadah form, once we're moving on to the place called Ekron, which we just said is Caesarea, which we just said it's a place that everyone fought over. Now, says the Gemara, we're going to learn more about Ekron. Again, so we have a segue of a segue. Once we got into different lands in the portion of Zvulun, Kitron, Sipairi, now we get into other places, says the Gemara. Amar Avasi, Migdal Shir. Amar Avasi Bar Chanina, or about, 20 lines to the bottom, very wide lines over here. First one line is Vinitzchom. Amar Avasi Yosi Bar Chanina, Maidach Sev, what's the meaning of the pasuk? Vasi Roisi Damav Mipev, Vishikutzav Mi Bein Shinav. What does the pasuk mean? I'll remove blood, dam, from your mouth, Vishikutzav, and the disgusting things from between your teeth. And Vinishar Gamu Lelokinu, and that's going to remain for Hashem. Explains Rav Yisrael Chanina. Vasiroisi Dama Mipev, that refers to Zebes Bamya. Shalahen. Vishikutza Mi Beis Shinav, and it says that remove Beis Shinav. Again, these are different places of Avodah Zarah. Beis Bamya is a place that the Edom, they worshipped. They would put the dam of their sacrifices. That refers to the house of Galia. To your God. This refers to the shuls and the Bati Midrash that were in Edom, that all the Yidden that they were learning during Galus. And the Psukim continue, and it was like a chief in Yehuda, Ekron Kivusei, and it should be like Ekron Yevusi. Elu, says the Gemara, this is the circuses and the tremendous amphitheaters in Rome, in Edom, Shasidim Shir Yehuda Lalamid Ben Taira Berabim, that the Sari Yehuda, the prince of Yehuda, are going to use. We all know this was quoted when they first time time they went to City Field, why did they build this massive stadium? So we could sit and we could give Torah and we could learn. That is why the Goyim build these incredible places. Amar Rav Yitzchak, L'sheim zeh b'amayim. Continuing the psukim, L'shem zeh b'amayis, Ekron is Tiokar zu Kisari bas Edom. Shiyos a metropolis shal malachim is a place. The metropolis of kings, that they raise kings there. That's where they establish the kings. And the pasuk says, regarding Kesaria and Yushalayim, if someone tells you both Kesaria and Yushalayim are destroyed, don't believe him. They're both living and they're both built up. Al Taiman, don't believe him. Charva Kesari, Yashva Yushalayim, Charva Yushalayim, Yashva Kesar, an inverse relationship. Ta'amen, then believe them. Shenemar Emlolich Chareva, Emaleyazu, Chareyazu, Emaleyazu, Charavazu. That Kesaria and Yushalayim always have this inverse relationship. One is up and one is down. One is built and one is desolate. Says the Gemara, similar ayah. The pasuk says that one kingdom will be stronger than the other. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Excuse me, and that was the end of this raya. The one is always stronger than the other, referring to Xaria and Yushalayim. Continues Rav Yitzchak and he says another pasuk. What is the meaning of the pasuk of Yuchan Rasha Balami Tzedek? What does the pasuk mean when it says let's favor shown to the Rasha and he's not going to learn to be a tzaddik? This means Amar Yitzchak of Nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rabbeinu Shalom. Yitzchak is talking to Hashem. Yuchan Esav says Yitzchak, give Yuchan, give Chaim, give favor Esav to Esav. Amar Lai Rasho. Hashem says Esav, he's a Rasha. Amar Lai, Yitzchak responds, Balam et tzedek. Is there not something good about him? Is there not some little bit of righteousness? Amar Lai, Hashem responds, Paris Nachalchais. Avel. Shem says in the land of upright, he's going to be dealing deceitfully. He's going to destroy Yerushalayim, the descendants of Esav. Amar Loyim Kain Bal Yira Gavas Hashem Geos Hashem. So he says, if so, then that's how we're going to see the majesty, the grandeur of Hashem. Hashem knows what's going to happen. Amar Rav Yitzchak, Ma'idil Sev. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Again, another din of Rav Yitzchak, another din. Al Titan Hashem Avi Rasha, says Rav Yitzchak, Hashem should not give the desires to the wicked, Zemamay al Tafek, you should not remove their nose ring, Yarumu Sela, that they should never be exalted. Omar Yaakov of Nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now Yaakov talks to Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom al Titin Esav Arasha Tavas Libai. Don't give Esav Arasha the desires of his heart. Zemamay al Tafek, the nose ring you should not remove. Zu, what is this referred to as we turn over to Vavam and Beis? Geramamia Shaladyam, the place called Geramamia, which is named a kingdom, and it was in Edom, a royal province of Edom. If they would go forth, they'd be able to destroy the whole world. Again, so we had a segue about Edom, about the statements of Rav Yitzchak. Now we said about a place called Geramamia, a different kingdom in Edom. Now we talk about this place called Geramamia on Vavam and Beis, 2 lines down. There were 300 princes in the Geramamia Shal Edom, and there were 365 officers in Rome. So 300 princes in the Geramamia, 365 officers in Rome. And every day there would be a fight. One group of the princes would go out to fight the officers, and one would kill the other, and they would never be able. And they would have to always keep on appointing a new ruler. And of course, there's more deeper explanations over here, the 365 officers, of the 365 days of the year, etc. Let's continue. 7 lines down. Similar, another statement and teaching of Rav Yitzchak, if someone says, Yagati, I was successful, it all worked out. Excuse me, Yagati, I toiled. It didn't work out. Al Tamin, don't believe him. Lo Yagati, I didn't toil Matzasi, but it worked out. Al Tamin. Yagati Matzasi Tamin. If someone toils, that's when he's successful. And immediately very Torah, when it comes to Torah, of course, There's no quick fixes. There's no pills to take. There's no way just to learn everything overnight. You have to work hard. Then then you'll be able to have the matzia. Then it will be a wonderful gift. When it comes to business, we know many people get rich overnight. It definitely happens. No one became the Gadol Adar overnight. And even with regard to Torah, says the Gemara, to become smart, to understand the Torah, to remember your learning, that all comes from Hashem. Of course, we have to chazer, we have to try hard, and we have to work. But at the end of the day, it's always a gift from Hashem. About 10 lines down, if you see a Rasha that the hour is laughing at him, that he's having a good moment, don't fight with him. Not only that, not only should you not fight with him, but he's going to be successful. That his ways are always successful. I'll even win court cases. Number 4, not only that, but his enemies are going to fall. Ask the Gemara, is it true? Is it true that you shouldn't fight with the wicked? Rav Shimon Yochai taught us you could fight with the wicked in this world. The Shomer Torah Yiskara should fight with them. You're allowed to fight with their shaim in this world. And if someone whispers to you and says, don't do it, if you're scared, it's only if someone who's scared says this. You know what the pasuk means? That you shouldn't be like the Mreim, you shouldn't be like the wicked. Shouldn't be like those that do the Avla. But what do we see? We see very clearly that Rav Shimon Yochai is teaching us that you're able to fight with the wicked in this world. Another pasuk, that you should not let your heart envy the sinners, you should go and you should take care of them. So you just taught me not to fight, that whenever we have a rush at the Shah that things are looking good for him, don't fight with him, because he's always going to win, and he's going to win the court case, and his enemies are going to fall. But as the Gemara, we see Rav Shimon Yochai taught us that you could indeed fight with the Rishayim in this world. Answers the Gemara, and fundamental answer. When it comes to Torah mitzvahs, then you could fight, then you can make sure that the Rasha is put in his place. When it comes to Mili Didei, it comes to earthly matters, don't get involved. Teretz number 1, Teretz number 2, Mili Didei. Both prices are actually referring to earthly matters. Another very important aside. If you're a tzaddik gomer, then you could fight with him. But if you're not a tzaddik gomer, like all of us, then certainly do not fight with the wicked. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Excuse me. What is the meaning of the pasuk? It says, "Lama tabid baigdim." Why do you look upon those that are bayi, that are bad, tachrish babela, and remain silent when the wicked swallow up Rasha Tzaddik Mimenu? When the wicked swallow up the Tzaddik, Tzaddik Mimenu Baileya, says the Gemara. But Tzaddik Gomer Einoi Baileya. The wicked only could swallow up a Tzaddik, but not a Tzaddik Gomer. In the final Teretz, says the Gemara, was everything that we just learned. That's in a regular case. But if it's a Sham is a Chegeslai, if you have a Rasha that everything is going well from him, then you don't fight. So three fundamental distinctions. Either you don't fight with a tzaddik about with a Rasha about physical matters, or you don't fight unless you're a tzaddik Amr, or if it's his hour, that's when you don't fight with him. Says the Gemara, now an interesting Gemara telling over the greatness of Rome, which the Mefarshim, the Marsha particularly explains that the reason why the Gemara is about to do this is to show us if this is what the Goyim have, certainly what's going to be in store for the Tzadikim Lasalavai. Says the Gemara in the first medium-sized line, Amar Ula Itzel Shal Yavan Zekra Gadol Shal Raimi. Itzel Shal Yavan, the tally of Yavan, is the great city of Rome. Vavitlasmi Aparsi, Atlasmi Aparsi, 300 parsa by 300 parsa, Vish Vashinsa, the Yesh Shvakim, there were 365 marketplaces, Kimini Maisachama, like the days in the solar calendar. The smallest market was the bird, 16 mil by 16 mil. And the king would dine each and every day in one of the marketplaces. he would dine, and when the king would dine there, anyone who lives in the city, even if he wasn't born there, he would take something from the king. Someone who was born there, even if he doesn't live there, and there were 3,000 bathhouses. Now we're up to the first very wide line, Yishbai in Rome. 500 windows with smoke. Chutz l'chaima put out the smoke opposite the wall. See the echad yam, see the echad harim. One side was an ocean, one side was a mountain. Ugvais. See the echad mechitza shal barzov, see the echad chutzas u'mesula. One side was iron and one side was swampy lands, and that was the incredible city of Italia, of Rome, incredible grandeur and majesty and greatness. And of course we bring this down to show what the tzaddikim have waiting for them. Lost in Lavai. Says the Mishnah of Avav and Rebbeis. Now we get back a bit into the halachic portion, which of course is extremely relevant this year in the year of a leap year. Says the Mishnah, Karza Megillah Ba'ad Arisha Min Isabra Ashana. Back bisman that they would make the leap years by Eidim that would come and testify. So what happens? You had Adar, and then boom, they make another Adar. Says the Mishnah, Karnai Sabadar Sheni, got to do it all again in the second Adar. Ein min Adarishan, the Adar Sheni, Al Kriyas Megillah Matanas Avyainim. Says the Mishnah, there's no difference between the first and second Adar, except for with regard to Kriyas Megillah Matanas Avyainim, that they have to be done in the second Adar. Says the Gemara, first of all, what do we see from the Mishnah? All Indian Seder Parashiyas Evzeh Shavin. With regard to the Parashiyas, the Dalit Parashiyas, seemingly there's no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar. You can read it in the first, you can read it in the second, there's no problem. Says the Gemara, and we're just going to start this new Gemara. We'll start the Brisa, and tomorrow we'll have to conclude. Mani Masnisan, who is the Tan of our Mishnah? Says the Gemara, Loi Tanakama, Lovelos Rabbi Yossi, Shimon Gamliel. Titania, we have a Brisa. Karu es Megillah Ba'adar Rishain. Someone read the Megillah on the first Adar in his Abra Hashana. Then they added on a month. Karnas of Adar Sheni. Got to read it again. Shkol Mitzvah Shenegaz B'Sheni. Negaz B'Rishon Chutz B'Mikra Megillah. That's the Tanakama. So Tanakama, let's just speak it out as we go. Why is it not like our Mishnah? Because he only hones in on Mikra Megillah. Our Mishnah said Matanas Avyanim as well. Number two, Rav Yossi Aimer in Karnas of Adar Sheni. You do not read in the second Adar Shkol Mitzvah Shenegaz B'Sheni. Negaz B'Rishon. He says once you did it in the first, you're fine. Certainly not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said even though you do it in the first, you have to do it in the second. You got to read it again in the second Adar. And we have to see what the difference between Rav Shimon Gamliel seemingly is saying the exact same thing as the Tanakama, both honing in on Mikra Megillah. We'll get there in 1 second. But they all agree are also both in the first and second Adar. So first of all, says the Gemara, within this price of Shimon Gamliel and Tanakama, they're both basically saying that Megillah has to be done again. What's the difference? That's the difference. You read the parashas in the second Adar if you have a Rishon Ovid. So Tanakama holds that you have to lechatchila do the Dal Parashas in the second Adar, but if you did in the first one, it's okay. The only thing you have to do in the second one, according to Tanakama, was Mikra Megillah. Rav Yossi Savra Afilu Mikra Megillah lechatchila b'Rishon, and Rav Yossi opinion number 2 in the Brayso says even Megillah you're allowed to do in the first Adar. And Rav Shimon Gamliel, the third opinion, Savra Afilu Seder Parashiyos, even the Parashiyos, Ikar b'Rishon, Ikar b'Sheni, everything has to be in the second Adar. So says the Gemara, Mani, who is the Tan of our Mishnah? It's none of these opinions. Itanekama, Kasha Matanais. Tanakama said only Megillah has to be done in the second Adar. What happened to Matanas Lavyanim? Rav Yossi, Kasha Nami Mikra Megillah. Because Rav Yossi said you're allowed to do Megillah on the first, and our Mishnah said you have to do Megillah in the second Adar. Shimon Gamliel, Kasha Seder Parashiyos, which our Mishnah said is allowed to be done in the first, and he said it could be done, has to be done in the second. Says the Gemara, will conclude with this line: La'ilam Tanekama, V'tana Mikra Megillah v'adin Matanas Lavyanim. Why? Ta'abaha as we've learned already, Mikra Megillah Matanas Lavyanim, because Aniyim, as soon as they hear the Megillah, are waiting for their money. Einav Shel Aniyim, says Rav Yosef and Dalet Abayz, or Nesuyos are waiting for Mikra Megillah. So answers the Gemara, really the Tanekama is the Tan of our Mishnah. So why doesn't it say Matanas Lavyanim has to be done again in the second Adar? Because Matanas Lavyanim is always intrinsically tied hand in hand with Mikra Megillah. We'll pick up from the second Daris that could be even Rav Shimon Gamliel in the next year. Mir Tzashem.